One of my clients messaged me today and he shared with me what I believe is one of the most wholesome mindset and perspective shifts I've ever seen in the past decade that I've been trading, having coached over 4,000 clients. And I think that this video will be particularly useful for you if you're in a position where you feel like your expectations and your reality in trading are not aligned. You feel like, you wanted it to be more, you thought it would be a little bit easier than it's turned out to be, and you're in a position where you're kind of beating yourself up mentally. And if you're not going to watch this whole video, that's fine, but I really encourage you to at least watch the first few minutes. You might perhaps go away from this video with something that could change your perspective in the way that you're approaching trading. So we're going to read this message and then I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on it. My client says, "Dear Nick, it's been a while since I traded and started focusing more on myself and a new job which pays me better than the previous one. I feel like your videos helped me, especially the one about anxiety. In the past 3 years, I was living a very unhealthy lifestyle, filled with dreams and hopes, where I can be wealthy through trading CFD accounts and prop firms. And while I did have some very cool experiences trading and some magnificent trades, I was also very flat or even losing most of the time. Plus, I was chronically glued to my screen and the thoughts of hoping that one day I could just make $21 million through trading. I feel like I reached a point where I've lost myself and humanity. I became very robotic and started viewing life as black and white. Nothing makes sense. Some people get rich and some people remain poor. There is injustice and unfairness, which made me also question, how come these people get to have mansions and me and my family don't? And if God loves us all, why were we created to live a life where we can't even afford living, and some are able to afford to live the extravagant lifestyles? And thoughts of like, am I worthless after all? It took me a lot of time to find answers, and perhaps trading was just a way for me to give myself some hope on a lifestyle that would have probably crumbled me physically, mentally, and spiritually. Maybe I'm not ready for that lifestyle. Maybe the current lifestyle has some certain great events that is waiting for me, and it could be the key to my answers and might be able to help other people who struggle the same way I struggled. I loved trading, and I still do. I have passion in reading charts, analyzing, documenting, testing, training, and experiencing all the wins and losses. But I also made it an obsessive part of my daily lifestyle. This is where I started understanding your way of simplifying your trades and making it as easy as possible, reducing all the noise and making it as smooth as possible. I know that it can still be stressful sometimes, but you still manage to find a way to make it a working and doable process. I haven't. I was just testing and experimenting, looking for the Pandora box. I felt like Odin, who was just seeking for knowledge, wisdom, and power, to the point where he felt like it wasn't enough and wanted more, although he was already powerful. Currently, I'm not trading CFD or prop firms. I'm just slowly accumulating shares in different assets when they are down. Definitely not putting big amounts of money into them. I'm also striving for a minimalistic lifestyle and having fun with tech products and AI. I just want to thank you for all your videos and you being you sharing with us your journey and experience in life. I learned a lot from you and hope you continue having a successful trading YouTube career." I sent him back an audio message essentially just acknowledging that this perspective shift was very powerful and that it was very useful and beneficial. And I want to talk to you a little bit about this perspective shift. So, whenever you approach trading, a lot of people think that trading might be something like this. You start here, and then as you learn, you get a little bit of knowledge, then you start here, and then you get a little bit more knowledge, and you slowly kind of make progress over time. And that your success will come as a series of experiences that kind of like lead you towards profitability, and you have this smooth curve going up and to the right. When in reality, the curve looks something more like this. You start, you learn a few things, and you feel like everything's going extremely well at some point. It's usually very early on. And then you're quickly reminded that a lot of things don't work out. And so then you have a huge pullback in terms of your experience, and it's a lot of negativity. And then you learn a bit more, and you feel like you're really getting it, but then something happens that really wipes out your mental perspective. And then as this continues, you end up having this series of volatile ups and downs. And for some people, it might continue to transition up and to the right, but the cold, hard reality is that for most people, meaning 90% or more, that doesn't happen. It goes sideways, it kind of dwindles out, and some people stay in this pattern for years and years and years until finally their hope, their drive, their motivation to succeed goes to zero, and they just stop. And it's sad because it doesn't have to be that way. I think that the thing that held me back for quite a long time in my trading career was the fact that I didn't have proper expectations getting into it. I, very much like you maybe, thought that trading could be something that I just learn and then I could just make money on repeat endlessly. And while that's certainly been the case on a long enough time horizon over the past decade, it wasn't the easy process that I anticipated that it might be, right? I thought, like, how hard can it be? You're just looking at charts and trying to guess whether or not it'll go up or down, and you just make a little more money than you lose. I feel like a lot of us think that trading should and ought to bring us a lifestyle that is going to allow us to take care of ourselves, our family, and have nice things. And the truth is that some of us work 10 times harder than other people, and yet we get 10 times less of the results. We all know people who seem to barely do anything. They seem to not really give a damn about anything, and they just do the bare minimum, and they get outsized, asymmetrical anomalies of results that just allow them to get maybe 10, 20, 50, 100 times more than you have in life in terms of health and wealth and success and what it looks to be happiness. And yet you're sitting there thinking, like, man, I'm doing like way more than even that person, and I don't even have a tenth of the results that person has. And as a matter of fact, you may have no results at all, right? You maybe have been learning to trade for years, just like my friend here, and you're still going through the process of losing money and maybe break even if you're lucky. And I think that the perspective shift of having expectations that are reasonable, meaning just expecting nothing, right? And just expecting to say, this is going to be hard. I probably won't make any money doing this, and that's just the reality, but I think it's still worth a shot. So I'm going to give it a shot to keep going. That perspective shift is what I made, and it took me about 3 years into my trading journey to do that. And I got profitable about 2 years into my trading journey. And then for the next year to a year and a half, I was making around like $5,000 to, on a good month, maybe $10,000 a month. But honestly, that only happened a couple times over that period. Most of the time I was making $3,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month. And whenever I made this perspective shift where I stopped caring about getting rich per se, I stopped caring about the things that trading could bring me. And instead I just decided, you know what? If that never happens, that's okay. I still think trading is a worthwhile endeavor to pursue. I know that there's people doing it successfully, and chances are those people are not any smarter than me. Chances are that if they could do it, then I could probably do this too. And I need to really just detach myself from the cold, hard reality that trading is something that is extremely difficult and hard and something that almost nobody can do profitably. When I made that shift, I went from making $5,000 to $10,000 a month to making $50,000 to $100,000 a month. And this mindset shift, it only took a couple months, right? It took about 4 or 5 months for me to get to that position from mid-2019 to the end of the year 2019, where I had made $80,000 in a single month. And that continued into 2020 and 2021 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 this year, where I've made, currently sitting in P&L up on the year, about $2.5 million. And I sit here in a position where I recognize that it's rare. It's rare for a person to go through all those ups and downs and all of those mental negative self-judgments and thinking that you're a failure. And then I know what it's like to have done it for a year or two and then feel like you're back to square one and question every single thing you're doing. I'm uniquely qualified to tell you that I know what it's like because I went through that. When I started, I had basically nothing. I refused to accept help from my family. I did everything myself. I worked 2 jobs, about like 75 to 85 hours a week, and I was making only $2,600 US per month, which back in 2016 was not a lot of money given the amount of time I was spending at work. I did nothing but work, and when I wasn't working, I was sleeping, and when I wasn't working or sleeping, I was spending time learning trading. And I feel really fortunate that I was able to make this mindset shift, and I stumbled upon it by just deriving it from my experiences. But you don't have to do that. You can take my word for it, and you can take my friend Otho's word for it, that if you're able to make this shift where you let go of the idea of having to make so much money trading, of having to be successful, what happens is the pressure to perform, your performance anxiety, all the things that you worry about in the future, is this going to work? All the things that you worry about in the past, I've wasted so much time already, is this even going to work out? Is it even worth doing? All those things start to melt away, and you really get to be more in tune with yourself and tether yourself to reality. And the weird part about the world, this has been known for thousands of years, mainly in Buddhist wisdom and Chinese methodology, whenever they were going through all their philosophical realms back a couple thousand years ago. It's called the backwards law. And it's basically just the less you give a shit about something, the more you get out of life. The harder you pursue something, the more elusive it becomes and the less likely you are to get it. And I think that you sitting back and taking a deep breath and just accepting that not only life is hard, but trading is certainly hard, and that you shouldn't really be trying to go about making millions of dollars and getting a mansion and a jet and quitting your job and doing all these things that you think trading should bring you. And instead, if you focus on just being okay and being satisfied and reminding yourself that it's perfectly okay to just have the bare minimum in life, I think that at that point, a lot more people than not can actually begin to make real progress trading. And this is not some pie in the sky mental gymnastics, right? This works in a lot of areas of life. The less concerned you are about finding a spouse, the more likely you are to relax and let things happen. And the universe has a really weird way of rewarding people who are already content with what they have. The universe has a way of rewarding people that are satisfied with their life just the way it is, and they don't quote unquote need it to be different in order to be happy. And I think that this perspective shift is so powerful that I really wanted to share it with you here in today's video. So I hope this video helped, and I hope that you make this perspective shift in order to be happy with what you have right now and approach trading as a way for you to just have fun, to gain the experience, to test things out, to figure out what's working and what's not, and remove all that pressure which causes you to resent the whole process and to resent trading and to even resent yourself. Trading is hard, and that's okay. I hope you approach it with the proper expectations going forward. I'll see you in the next video.